Merry Christmas, Thomas.
Oh, no!
Nearly all horror movies finish with a lone survivor facing the villain by themselves in a climatic battle of blood and catharsis. And usually, the last one standing is a woman.
Sex equals death, okay?
Carol J. Clover's Men, Women and Chainsaws has provided a groundbreaking viewpoint on the innovation and influence of horror cinema on our popular culture since its initial publication in 1992. Clover identified the final girl as a female who is the lone survivor of the group of young people after studying horror movies from the 1970s and 1980s. She is typically portrayed as a helpless damsel in distress who first experiences a great deal of dread, uncontrollable fear, and panic. When she comes face to face with her attacker, she comes across as tough as a man while she challenges him to a fight while holding a weapon in the goal of surviving. Additionally, she abstains from other illegal behaviors like drinking and drug usage, which keeps her alert and prepared to escape or join in a fight.
He has been so patient with me. You know, with all the sex stuff. How many guys will put up with a girlfriend who's sexually anorexic?
She exhibits the movie's active investigating gaze, as described by Clover. Because of her intelligence, curiosity, and vigilance, she always manages to survive. The last girl may be cunning and clever, outwitting her attackers, or she may barely escape unharmed. Her triumph can be short or unclear. She might survive but be permanently traumatized. According to Carol Clover, the slasher movies of the 1970s brought us young ladies who fought back against their would-be killers, outsmarting and occasionally even subduing them. The initial model of the final girl, Jess Bradford from Black Christmas, was much ahead of her time. She's a cleverly crafted protagonist with a complicated inner life. Jess is progressive and sex positive, and her survival is a powerful statement that sex need not be a woman's undoing on her death sentence.
I'm gonna have an abortion.
You can't make a decision like that. You hadn't even asked me.
I wasn't even gonna tell you.
Additionally, Jess's sad decision to choose saving her friends over herself by staying in the house even after she learns the killer is inside cemented her reputation as a bold, brave last girl that many went on to imitate in the years to come. Ellen Ripley is the last girl ahead of her time, much like Jess Bradford from Black Christmas, and has since been praised as one of the finest female characters ever. Since Ripley was initially intended to be a man, she is not subject to the casual sexism and gender stereotypes that were prevalent in both horror and action movies at the time. Ripley succeeds in demonstrating how women are just as powerful and strong as males. According to Carol J. Clover, slasher films confront us in startlingly clear terms with a world in which male and female are at desperate odds, but in which at the same time masculinity and femininity are more states of thought than body. Ellen Ripley is a prime example of this and so much more. Sidney Prescott, the lead character in the Scream series, has experienced more than her fair share of betrayals, traumas, and harassment from the ghost-faced killer in each movie. Sidney transformed the idea of the final girl into a character who, despite suffering enormous loss and agony, is not burdened by her ordeal. She appeared to be more capable of reading the situation, being able to roll with the punches and delivering a just as powerful counterpunch. A modern day final girl is not the selected damsel in distress because everyone else was already a victim. The final girls of today are fiercely competitive and will stop at nothing and kill anyone to reach the finish line, occasionally turning the tables on those who left them for dead. Ready or not, Samara Weaving's persona initially reminds me of one of the standard final girl characters from a horror film. White girl wearing a white garment who represents an ideal of moral purity that is impossible to reach. Her in-laws appear to be your typical upper-class white family. However, a dark curse still lies beneath the surface of the family's self-made gaming empire. Every time a new individual enters the family through marriage, that curse compels the family to participate in a game night. A hide-and-seek game night can be fun and harmless, or it could be extremely deadly. Grace doesn't hide and wait out the storm when she discovers her in-laws are after her. Instead, she continuously avoids their attacks. She fights till her last drop of blood, even when her husband turns on her. As the final titles begin to roll, spectators stand behind her as she succeeds, smoking a very well-deserved cigarette. The 2015 movie The Final Girls makes fun of the horror category and its weaknesses, but it is primarily a comedy with a side of horror.
That's
The final girl. We just have to stay with her till the end of the movie.
As a bunch of teenagers are dropped into a campy slasher movie, the movie explores the idea of a final girl and what it means to be her.
Do you guys know the way to Camp Bluefinch?
The sole weakness in the main character, Max, is her unwillingness to let go of her late mother, who played a major role in the slasher movie and fought alongside Max all the way to the finish. Max can easily assume the role of the final girl once she is able to move on from the murder of her mother, both within and outside of Camp Bloodbath. She doesn't let a love interest or the death of friends get in the way of killing the bad guy. Due to the continued existence of abuse against women in our society, the final girl still feels tragically relevant. However, today's final girl is a far stronger and complicated character than previous final girls, who were defined by their suffering. She represents more of the connections between gender, sexuality, color, class, and the various ways that we are conditioned to live in fear. Today, her path is about finding strength within herself as much as defeating the monster. The horrors that women experience have not reduced, but the final girl will continue to resist them to the very end, regardless of the fact.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Not in my movie.